Hi, we're live here in New Delhi with the Hindustan Times English language newspaper from today. It is Saturday, April 10th. So one interesting article that I found today, let me just see the newspaper, is, the technology page. 3G finally comes calling to India. Lord have mercy, it looks like we're going to have to talk about that. So, one thing that I found interesting came over here. It's a small, as you can see, a small bit of the news. And as I say on Delhi newspaper mastheads, there's always a, sexy white woman. So there's your sexy white woman. And then, some polarizing political figure, male. There he is. So you always see this balance on the front page here. Lawyers argue in Hindi, in high court, in Hindi language, in the Delhi High Court. This is news in India because, as you'll see through this article, this is not normal to speak the indigenous language in the not-so-indigenous court. New Delhi. The High Court, for the first time in its 44-year history, allowed a lawyer to argue in Hindi, signaling a likely beginning of the end of monopoly of English-speaking lawyers. Juicy, right? Let's turn to page 7. On page 7, the story continues. Let me show you here. There are advertisements that, wow, they're all kind of naked white women. Ooh, on the world page, it's all naked white women. Hindi makes its debut in the Delhi High Court. Breaking news, for the first time in 44 years, lawyers allowed to argue in national language. This is from Harish V. Nair. And he said, the journalist here, on Friday, the court, for the first time in its 44 years, now that information has been repeated 4 times now, and I haven't even gotten to the thick of the article, allowed a lawyer to argue in Hindi. Even the judge interacted with the lawyer in the same language. Singh, he's a justice of the, the lawyer, Gurninder Singh, that advocates should be allowed. Singh says, he will be able to express more effectively if he is allowed to argue in Hindi, as it has been his medium of instruction during his career. Justice Sharma asked the lawyer why the petition was not drafted in Hindi. The petition to the court that they're talking about anyway was not drafted in Hindi. Clever, right? To which he replied that it would have been rejected at the filing counter itself, as they do not have any direction to accept petitions in Hindi. And I just want to be clear on what he's talking about. He's talking about bureaucracy. He's saying that somewhere in the chain there's a box that is supposed to be checked. And if that box is not checked, then that person who is therefore the gatekeeper, they will not even consider anything you have to say because, well, out of, 27 boxes, box 26 is not checked. That's how the bureaucracy logic goes here. And so the system itself necessitates that you do a lot of squeaming and squirming. Okay? So the article goes on to say, the development comes at a time when 3,000 lawyers across Delhi have signed a memorandum addressed to the Delhi High Court Chief Justice for allowing them to argue in Hindi. Hindi is allowed in high courts in Rajasthan, Allahabad, and Madhya Pradesh. Now we get to the juice of it. There are a large number of efficient lawyers in trial courts who hesitate to appear in high court just because rules insist English, says Ashok Agarwal, who is another advocate who's advocating for Hindi to be spoken. So what he's saying is that justice is impeded in the justice system because of the English language monopoly. He's saying that people who are supposed to be advocates, and that's why I like that word much more than lawyers, but advocates, people who are to advocate on behalf of the public, who are to advocate before the justices, the law that they all have studied. So the people themselves are disenfranchised because those who are responsible for interacting with them, even though the advocates may interact with their clients in Hindi or in any other language, they have to sort of translate, transliterate, and interpret all of that in English, in a foreign language for them, in the sense of a language that may be not one that they learn at home, or perhaps not. Some people do learn it at home. But in a sense, this system, this judiciarily imposed system, that says that English only is to be spoken. It doesn't even allow for Hindi or other languages to enter that space. And as an exclusive space, that's what the problem is. And so it's not just that the advocates. Mr. Agarwal goes on to say, allowing arguments in Hindi would help clients to follow their cases more accurately. Did you hear what he just said? He said, the clients, the people whose justice is in question here. So not the arbitrators of the law, but the actual people and the law itself. So not the people in between and not the system, but actual justice is impeded. People who are being called to trial may not be in a position to understand what's being said, spoken before them. It's like they're watching just like this. That's injustice. That's by definition injustice, and that's all they're saying. That's all they're saying here. I think for those people outside of India, it might be a bit shocking, off-putting, if you're in the English-speaking world, if you're in a country that only has one language. But in a nation where there are a multitude of mother tongues, we have to think that what we say really does matter. And in the language we say it in, it really does matter. I have this newspaper because there's a young lady who works in my home, and we're doing some English language training, because I have seen that it's English that determines the dollar bills in this city. But it's also opening up a world for her, and we open up dialogue about these things through just the basic newspaper. And so she brings a newspaper to my home a couple of times a week, and this is what we have to talk about, and this is what we will talk about today, is justice.